Hey, what's going on, guys? Just living here. So if you haven't heard by now, DICE has a program called the Roots Initiative, and that basically is them just going over the mechanics of the gameplay and just trying to improve the battlefield as much as they can. They started doing this back around when they had the They Shall Not Pass DLC that came out, and how they were trying to fix such things like a grenade spans and whatnot. And so basically they've been just carrying that over, and now they're affecting different styles in the game to make the game just come around more polished and more smooth. Now, of course, these things first go through the CTE first, which is a community test environment. But majority of the time, they usually, when they go through that environment, unless there's something really crazy that ends up happening, they're usually going to make it into your actual gameplay, such when you're playing on an Xbox. So I'm basically just going to go over some of these little things that they've changed. I think some of them are pretty interesting. And it's some things that, if you're, wanted to stay up to pace with the game, and you want to keep, a pretty good high, competitive caliber to the game, and want to keep up your skill to the game, these are kind of interesting things you want to take note of. So just to get started here, the first thing that I want to note is that they are going to affect the aim assist on console. So for us Xbox players over here, they're going to tone down the aim assist for us, so you're going to see some more need for skill with your controller when it comes to using your sniper rifles or like your slug shotguns. This is going to cause people to have to use a greater natural precision than relying on aim assist to use the controller, so they're going to lean more onto that direction here coming up. With that said, they're going to reduce some muzzle smoke. So they're going to reduce the muzzle smoke visibility when firing some weapons. Reducing the muzzle smoke increases visibility when holding down your trigger, allowing you to track your enemy's movement with more clarity. With that said, they're also going to fix the they're going to reduce the flinch animation on head hits that prevents the player from landing the second headshot. So when you hit another player with a headshot, normally their character model will flinch because of the head movement. If you were too precise, you would not be able to land the second headshot to kill them. So that will be kind of interesting to see how that plays out for some of you sniper guys who are out there trying to get those second headshots, or when you miss that body shot, or you're trying to hit that headshot to give you a smoother approach on getting a cleaner and crisper headshot. They are affecting the recoil and spread. So they're going to reduce the increased penalties when firing, reduce the spread increase, when penalties when firing. However, to balance this out, though, they're going to increase the recoil penalties when firing. So basically, your bullets are going to be more accurate. They're not going to deviate as much. But however, to balance that out, the recoil is going to be a lot heavier. So you're going to feel a lot of more weight and kickback onto your gun. This is what I find pretty interesting. Is they're going to lower the field of vision when it comes down to tanks. So that's going to be kind of interesting. They're going to have a smaller viewpoint to see on the map when you're using your tank, and they're going to give an accuracy penalty when in third-person view. So they're leaning more towards a realistic side of tank. If you're using a tank in real life, you can only really see in that, especially in those World War I tanks, you can only see in that very, limited view that you have right there. And so a lot of people will move into the third-person view because they're able to see a wider range. So the DICE seems to be leaning out more towards on the realistic side approach, and because of that, they're gonna put an accuracy penalty when you're getting a third-person view. I'm a little interested to see how that's going to play out for such things like the artillery truck, where the only weapon that you can use when you're in that first-person view is the machine gun, and how that's going to play out. But for things like light tanks and heavy tanks, the moment you move out to your third person, there is going to be an accuracy penalty while in third person view. It doesn't seem to be any indication yet if that's just going to be limited to tanks. I can see that just as much being given as well to things like infantry classes as well. So when you're trying to basically snipe out that one guy in the infantry class who's running across the map, and you're in your tank trying to pick him off, if you're in third-person view, it seems like there's going to be a decrease in the accuracy to be able to take them out. Another pretty interesting thing that I found out is they're going to increase the damage with the dynamite with elite classes. So when you're trying to take out that elite class now, you're going to be able to have a little bit more of an advantage now if you're going to throw some dynamite on them. You know, it doesn't say we really don't know how much damage is going to take them out if you're going to be able to use the 3 sticks that you have with the dynamite and be able to blow up the elite class, but it is going to be a little bit of an improvement because in a lot of situations it does take a lot of damage to take out the elite classes if you're going to use the dynamite. And I think I've only been really successful with doing that like once or twice, to be honest with you. It was normally a mechanic I didn't really like using. The normal mechanic I liked using the most was actually using the bayonet charge. But speaking of the bayonet charge, they're going to be changing that up as well too. So now with the bayonet charge, they're planning on making a longer wind-up time before entering the takedown phase. So if you've been in a situation before with a bayonet charge where you might be running down a hallway, you cross a player really quick, and then instantly he goes in the bayonet charge, and he's instantly able to take you down before you even able to fire or shoot at them, they're going to slow down that wind-up phase a little bit, so you're going to have less of those experiences that will happen. However, though, in result of that, you're going to see, like, for instance, when I'm trying to use that charge against elite classes, you're going to see that become a little bit more difficult. And they're also as well going to allow the player to bind the bayonet charge to a different key to separate the normal melee from the bayonet charge. So that's just the keys when they're talking about that is going to be in response to PC players. Keeping up on the melee aspect of it, though, they are taking down the angle snap and lock on. They're affecting the takedown, angle snap, and lock on to reduce the angle so that the players need to have his crosshairs more accurately aiming at the target to trigger a melee animation. As well, they're going to have prevent the player from triggering a takedown when performing a front melee. So they really are narrowing the scope and leaning on the side of it, making it a little bit more difficult for you to take down someone while using your melee. Now they're requiring it more for you to be behind the player if you don't want to trigger that takedown animation, as well making sure that your crosshairs are more accurately aiming on the target. There's a lot of instances with this as well when I think about using the elite classes where I'll find people who are able to take me down almost where they're like looking at me straight on. With using their melee weapons. So it is kind of interesting just for the fact of the elite class, how that will play out. And just as well, how it'll be interesting when you're playing against just a regular infantry class as well. You're going to see more battles between people now where they're meleeing back and forth. So it will probably be more interesting to see how that will play out, especially with the different variations between melee weapons of how some of them increase damage and other ones that increase the ability to get that special takedown. So they're leaning more into that. As well, they're going to fix the rocket gun, AT rocket gun. They say currently it feels too clunky and it needs more consistency. I did kind of find that a good approach that they're going to try to fix that out. You see a lot of players, if you're trying to use the AT rocket gun pretty effectively, you'll use a gun, you'll shoot at a tank, you'll get up to reload, you'll lay down another spot, and you'll try to shoot the tank again. You'll find a lot of people very difficult in using that and making a smooth transition from shooting the tank, getting up, moving to another spot, shooting the tank, getting up, moving to another spot. So overall, they're trying to make that a nice, good feel towards to it. So that will be very interesting as well to see how that will play out with the tanks, leaning more towards the infantry side of these type of things. And overall, we'll see if leaning towards that more brings a better balance to the game. And as well, finally coming up here, they're going to change the flare gun, and they're going to reduce the damage so it matches up better with the visual effects. So if you've been in a lot of situations where you're running down a path and you see a flare gun and you start getting hit by it and you feel like, wow, why should I be getting hit by this flare gun right here? They're going to begin to affect that and fix that up a little bit more so it matches up with you seeing the visual flare gun on the ground. So it's going to be more accurate. You're going to be able to see it better. Or you're going to see it just as well, but the damage is going to be reduced. So when you see it and you run by it, you're not being hit by it as easily as you were before. With that being said, though, they're also going to distinguish the friendly and enemy flare guns that are being thrown out. So now you're going to be able to tell the difference between an enemy's flare gun and your teammate's flare gun, which is really helpful because there's a lot of situations where you'll be running down and you'll see flare guns and you're not really sure yet if it's your teammates or your enemies, and you have to very much rely on your mini map to see, which one is which, and if you're seeing, enemies pop up on your screen or not. Still today, a lot of people don't really know that if you shoot a flare gun, that this will show the enemy players on the mini map as a little red dot. So only way you could see that before without using a flare gun if someone calls out and spots an enemy. So that's the nice thing about spotting enemies, is you're able to see players on your mini map. So that's a really helpful thing if you want to kind of increase and maximize some of your gameplay out by spotting players. You can either do, by spotting players will show them up on your mini map, or using your flare gun. I do like saying that, because even though some people might think, oh, this common knowledge in Battlefield 1, there's a lot of people that still will go into certain, chat rooms. If I'm on Twitch, people ask me, or I see other people ask other players about these certain things. So it's little things I like to throw out here. So by having to distinguish between your enemy and your teammates' flare gun, now we're going to be able to not be in those awkward situations there where we see flare gun, we're not sure, oh, can the enemy see me? And by the time you realize it's too late, they already know your position. And so, now that you're able to see the enemy's flare gun, you can have a good understanding. Know, okay, hey, these guys are going to be able to know where exactly I'm on the map. Now I should have a heightened awareness to know that, any moment someone could be charging in at me now and trying to kill me. Just as much as the other side now, when you throw the flare gun, the enemy could have a better understanding and say, oh, they possibly will have a heightened awareness now knowing that I'm coming. So that's basically it, guys. I wanted to do a video like this and probably keep them up a little bit, just to keep on with my last point I was making about people just, still don't understand a lot of the aspects of the game. And I feel like, just kind of communicating this and educating people about this will make the game more enjoyable for people, and they'll improve their gameplay as well. I don't know how many times I'll play games for the longest time, and then I'll even figure out some things that I thought were basic knowledge, or other people thought were like basic knowledge in the game, and you find them out months later. So videos like this, I think, help educate the community and help people understand some basic things in the game that we all who already know it kind of take for granted. So that's basically it, guys. Thanks for watching again. I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you guys again later. Peace.